Welcome to another Sunday WOY ABC4 Community Forum, where we talk to community leaders and local success stories to discuss important information that affects all of us here in Southern West Virginia. I'm your host today, Tiger DeMello. Now today we are joined by more distinguished guests. Terry and Patty Singler from the Fayette County Beekeepers Association are joining us this morning. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on the forum today. Now I wanted to start by asking you guys about your new beekeeping class that's starting in February, the 20th, Thursday.
Right. We've done this for 3 years, and we have it at the Fayetteville Presbyterian Church. It's next Thursday, beginning the first class at 6:30 to 8:30. We have it 6 weeks every Thursday, and the cost of the class is $30. If you write a check, payable to Fayette County Beekeepers Association, or cash, and registration will occur at the beginning of the class. It's aimed at new beekeepers that have never kept bees up to 1 to 2 years of beekeeping experience. You learn something new every day about the bees. Third year, I thought I knew everything, but I learned new things in my third year that I didn't know about. So it's a very good class. They'll teach you a lot of things that you will need to know.
So how does someone get started into beekeeping? How does that happen?
The first thing to do would be to go to one of these classes. And the next thing to do, at these classes, you'll meet people that are interested in the same thing. You need to get a mentor if you're going into beekeeping. When we started, I had a friend of mine lived close to me. I aggravated him to death. I would take pictures of what my bees were doing because I didn't know. And he helped me through that. But you need to get someone that's been keeping bees and stick right with them. And a lot of the stuff is on YouTube, but you know how that is. You have to be careful what you watch on that. Mm-hmm. But the classes are the best way to go. You meet a lot of good people that have been in beekeeping, and it's the best way to go.
Now, why is beekeeping important?
We need it for our food. I mean, there's so many plants that bees pollinate that if we didn't have the bee, a lot of our food we would not have, fruits and vegetables and things. You
have a lot of pollinators out there, the honeybees. If you didn't have honeybees, there wouldn't be any almonds. Honeybees is the only thing that pollinates the almond crop. We have people in our state ship bees to California for the almond crop pollination. But there's a lot of the food you just wouldn't have it near as much or not at all if you didn't have honeybees.
Now, what do you guys think is a big misconception about bees?
I think there's a lot of misconceptions that they're not, people say, well, they'll sting you. You see the Killer Bee movies and series, and they're not like that at all. Most of the time our bees, when you take the lid off, they'll come up and look at you. They're curious. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes if they have problems in the hive, if they're queenless, they will be aggressive, and you just close it up and go wait for another day. But they're not that aggressive. You have to control your behavior around them.
All right, now touching back on what you said about bees being major pollinators, let's say that they unfortunately did go extinct. How would that impact us?
Like I said, there wouldn't be as much fruit or things. We took a class and it showed what all would be missing. There was half of your produce would be gone. There wouldn't be any produce. And, I don't think it'd be a good thing.
No, besides that, you get honey from them, you get beeswax products, you get lip balms, you get hand creams, candles. It's just enjoyable to handle the bees. It is. It's a good hobby, and a lot of people make a living in it.
Mm-hmm.
So how does beekeeping help the bees?
They continue to grow their hives. Every year they reproduce. They make new. The queen will swarm sometimes, or you can split the hive and make more, and they just continue to grow.
Do bees that are being helped by beekeepers, do they do better than bees who are left out on their own?
Yes, yes. We have a problem with varroa mites. I think they came to the United States in like the 90s. Before that, beekeeping was just you put bees in a box and you go get the honey. The varroa mites spread, I think it was 26 different viruses in bees. And if you have a weak colony, the varroa mites will just wipe them out. I think that's what a lot of this colony collapse disorder was varroa mites. You have to treat for them. A lot of times you have to feed them in this time of year. Mm-hmm. They'll be out of food. We put sugar cakes in the top and check on those. We split them. Their natural reproducing is swarming in the spring. We try to split ours to minimize that. You can't stop it. Some people say you can, but we haven't been able to. We've slowed it down. But we'll split them and make new colonies. But it's just a natural thing. They want to make more bees. And they will, half the hive will take off and with the queen, and they'll make a new queen.
All right. Now, I want to ask you both, how did you guys get started into beekeeping? It seems like a very unique hobby.
Well, my grandfather kept bees when I was young. He probably had at the most 6 hives that I can recall. And I always found it fascinating. My father, he inherited the bees when my grandfather died. He was a little bit afraid of the bees, honestly, but my mother, he would suit up. My mother didn't have a suit, and she would go out and they would be all over her, and she just loved them. And I think I inherited that love from them. We just decided one day to get some bees, and so we knew the man up above us had them, so the one that Terry spoke of, and so we talked with him, and we found out about the bee club, and so we started. It's been about 8 years.
8 years?
Mm-hmm.
What's something that you know now that you wish you could have told yourself when you first started?
When I first started, I built my own box, even the frames that go in it. If I was to start again, I would join the club first, see where to get all this equipment, because it's a heck of a lot easier to buy and cheaper than it is to build this stuff. And I did get a mentor after I went to one meeting. I followed John around all the time, but you need somebody that's been there that can tell you what your problem are and to help you out a little bit. And as far as my experience, all these beekeepers are more than willing to help anyone that needs help with raising bees, starting out in bees.
Yes.
All right. Now, you just mentioned too that it's a little bit more cost effective to build supplies than buy supplies, but what about supplies that you guys can't build? How would you go about ordering that type of equipment?
There's several companies you can order them from. We prefer to get ours locally. There's a bee supplier
in Shady
Springs. They'll put the equipment together for you. I've got some equipment people where we would give or sell people bees. They would give us frames back that were just nailed together, and they will pull apart very easily. These people put it together, they glue it, they give you the box, and it's cheaper than what you can order one. And it's already put together, everything's put together. So I would buy locally on that, and unless you have scrap lumber around to build with. And no, there's not that much of that around anymore. You go to buy a board now at one of these stores, and then you can buy the box already put together cheaper than the board.
Well, nice. Now, what equipment does one need to start beekeeping?
Well, you need at least, if you have one box of bees, we prefer to get 2 at a time when you first start. But I mean, you can start with 1. But you need your full hive. I would say a full hive, wouldn't you, Terry?
Yeah.
And
yes.
Which includes 2 boxes, 2 deep boxes for the bees, and then a honey super. You have an inner cover, outer cover. You need a bee suit to protect yourself, probably gloves, and a smoker and a hive tool. Can you think of anything else? There's more.
There's always more gadgets.
Wait, there's more. There's several different things, I mean, you can get, but that's basically what you need to start out with. And then when you think you have, you have what you need, the bees will start reproducing, and you need more boxes and more frames. You have to keep supplying the need there for the bees as they grow. And sometimes we thought we were ready for swarm season or reproduction season, and I would be calling the bee supply store to have me some boxes ready. I'm coming to get them. So
Now, what type of bees do you guys work with mostly?
West Virginia mutts. They're the best bees around here. I have ordered buckfast. I've had a buckfast queen, which is supposed to be really gentle. I've had carniolans, which were supposed to be gentler, and all of them have good traits to them. But they go out and breed, so you're getting a cross anyway. And the West Virginia, I call them West Virginia mutts. They're local bees. They've been through the winters here. They seem like they're the best ones we have as the mix. Italian bees are supposed to be good and put out a lot of honey.
we've had all those.
We've had a lot of them, and they just intermix. But what I call West Virginia mutts, the local bees, I think that's the best you can get here. And a lot of people order them from down south. Those are southern bees. They haven't been through these winters. They may lose them the first year. A lot of them don't, but still, I think local bees are the best you can purchase.
And you said that whenever southern bees come up here, some of them might unfortunately pass away beforehand. How long is a bee's typical life cycle?
In the summertime, you're talking 30 to 40 days.
That's short.
It is short. They do, and I have read the main reason they die is they wear out their wings. When you have the honey flow going on.
They are busy.
And I've actually seen bees on the ground. I wonder what's wrong with them. And I read after that they wear out their wings, the front edge of their wings. They just can't fly back.
That's sad.
In the wintertime, they'll last from probably early November up to now, January. They last a lot longer. They're not out foraging. They're in a cluster.
Well, that's very good that they can last longer in the winter. Now, we are approaching a little bit towards the end here, so why don't you guys talk about some contact information for people who want to join?
Well, if you want to join, you would contact Rick Ford, that's our club president, at 304-539-1303. He's the one that actually will be the main speaker in these classes. Very good teacher. And then Terry, of course, at 304-890-3375.
All right, and is there any time preference that's good for you guys, or can they?
Anytime, usually.
Yeah, just anytime.
Anytime.
All right, well, hopefully that people will come out and reach to you guys very soon. So why don't you guys start dialing up your phones, and we will be right back after the break. Welcome back to our Sunday WOY ABC4 Community Forum. Today, again, we are here with Patty and Terry Sigler from the Fayette County Beekeepers Association. Now, Patty, while we were during our break, you wanted to talk about how the West Virginia Beekeepers Association, they have a list of every bee club that's in the state. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, they have a list online that if you need to pick a bee club, you can go there, and they have a list of all of them. All the contacts and their telephone numbers, how you go about contacting. There's a lot of information on there that you can get. So
how many bee clubs are there for the whole entire state? Is there one for each county, a few, multiple ones?
You know, I really don't know how many there are. Do you?
I know Fayette County, Greenbrier County has one, Clay County, Nicholas County.
Raleigh County.
McDowell, yeah. There's a
good bit.
There's a lot.
Okay, that's nice to hear that there's a bunch of stuff. So why don't you talk a little bit more about the Fayette Club and the Lewisburg Club specifically, about how participants can get on hands-on training?
Okay. Our classes start this week. The Southeastern Beekeepers class meets in Lewisburg at the New River Community and Technical College beginning February 18th, 6:30 to 8:30, and contact Rick for the information as to where they're meeting. And then the Fayette County Beekeepers meets next Thursday, the 20th, 6:30 to 8:30 at the Fayetteville Presbyterian Church.
All right, now, whenever we talked about how people should get started into beekeeping, but we didn't talk about people who might be scared or even allergic of bees but still want to help. How can they get involved?
We have apiaries at the New Roots Farm. We have several beehives there. If they're afraid of bees, they could go there and see if they want to do it. I mean, it'd have to be a little bit warmer weather, but one thing I didn't mention when we were talking about how to get into bees, if you're allergic to bees, you definitely don't want, you're going to get stung sometime. They may not be aggressive, but you'll pinch one, mash one accidentally, and they will sting you. But if you're afraid about getting into bees, you can get with another apiarist or beekeeper and work your way into it if you really want to do it. If you are extremely afraid of them, I wouldn't get into it. I mean, there's no sense in having a panic attack when you get into bees, because they will fly around your face. They say they have they can recognize your face.
Mm-hmm. I don't know that.
I don't know about that, but they will fly around your veil, and it can get kind of nerve-wracking at times, especially when there are a lot of foragers coming in when you're trying to get into them. But mostly they're calm. I'm not saying that bees won't sting. I'm not saying they'll just let you get into their honey and take it. They will get aggressive when you're getting honey, and you have to be careful about that and take your precautions, wear your suit and all stuff. But any of these clubs, I think, will let you work with bees to see if you really want to get into it.
We usually have an extra suit or two if you don't have protection. We do have extra jackets and gloves and things there at our apiaries.
All right.
So.
Now, what can everyone do that can help protect and preserve the bee population, even if they're not particularly interested in beekeeping, or if they are allergic to bees and they can't really do much?
Protect the bees. One thing, so many people spray with insecticides I'm not against insecticides or pesticides, but be careful what you're spraying for. Don't just go out and spray everything, especially anything that's blooming. The same way with herbicides. Some people say the herbicides harm the bees. You just have to be careful. If you're going to spray, be careful about it. If you see a swarm of bees, that is the calmest bees are going to be. They have nothing to protect. They're just trying to find their way to a new home. You can stick your hand in them. I've done that, and they won't sting you. They look scary because they're just a big whirl of bees, and they make a big mass on a tree. Don't spray those. Call a beekeeper. The West Virginia Beekeepers Association has a list of people that will come out and collect these swarms.
Or you can call someone if you know that's a local
the local bee clubs will collect them. They have people who will collect them. But the pesticides, I think, is one of the big things. Many people see them, and I've got to get rid of them. They're going to sting everybody, and just be careful about it.
And it's best to spray, if you can, your gardens and things early in the morning or late in the evening, not during the time that the bees are out collecting pollen and things. And that way, like, we use the liquid when we have to use the insecticides, pests, whatever.
So many people use the dust.
The white dust, I
won't mention the name, I don't know. But the bees actually think that's pollen. Okay. They'll take it back to the hive, and it'll wipe out a whole hive.
It will.
You can use the liquid brand of that. Just spray where you never spray a flowering plant. You need the bees to fertilize or pollinate your beans, your squash, all that, tomatoes. And when you spray those flowers, you're just killing them.
Now, is there any plants that someone can have out in their garden or just try to maybe just leave alone that would be extra beneficial to the bees?
We plant everything. The flowers, we have crimson clover of the spring that we plant. We plant pollinator seeds. We're in the process of planting some now. Cosmos, zinnias, we plant whatever we can. Buckwheat, and the bees love it. We leave in May, no-mow May. We try not to mow very much and let the clovers come up. And I just love sitting out in the field in that clover and let the bees just buzz around, going from flower to flower. It's beautiful. So
You can actually hear the buzz on those. And we planted a bee balm one year. Of course, it's come back up, but it's amazing how many pollinators come around it. Not just the honeybees, but the wasps, the sweat bees, the hummingbird moths, just hundreds of them. A lot of them I hadn't seen before until we planted this stuff. But you can, the bee balm is good. Hyssop was another good one that attracted a lot of them. If you just plant one bed of this and just study it through the summer, it will amaze you how many pollinators come to that.
All right, now earlier too, you mentioned that bees live a little bit longer in the wintertime rather than they do in the summer. You said in the summertime it's because their wings get worn out. So I assume that in the wintertime they're resting more?
Yeah, there's no honey flow on. And right now, where we live down along the river there at Canal River, the red maple is just starting to bloom. I know it's early and it may get bit by the frost, but that's the first thing they go after. It's the red maple pollen. And then you'll have, when dandelions come up, that's the first nectar we have around here. That's a signal to honey flow. And from there up till July, they work like crazy. And in the winter, if you have sunny days, they'll go out and look for stuff, but there's not a lot to be found, so they're not flying back and forth so much. They just, if it's cold, they'll get into a cluster, and they just vibrate to keep warm that way. Inside that hive, I think it would be 90 degrees, even on the coldest days, to keep them alive inside that cluster. So they have to stay warm in the winter. They just don't go dormant like that. They still have to stay warm.
Now, you mentioned that if that red maple plant might get bit by the early frost, does that also happen to the bees? Whenever we have a nice warm upswing of temperatures, it's there for like a week or two, and then we get a sudden drop?
It's hard on them, yes.
This drought last year was awful on them. They didn't have any, you had the flowers come out like the sourwood, which makes a good honey, but there was no nectar. It was just so dry. And we had an awful time with them. They just couldn't get enough nectar to bring into their hive to make the honey to store. You have to do a lot more feeding then with the sugar and all. The frost hitting that maple, I don't think it'll set it back, but it'll still come back out.
I think so too. That's what we're praying for.
Yeah. And a lot of plants I used to hate, the autumn olive, it's invasive, but the honeybees love it. So
and they make a good honey out of it, the autumn olive, yes. And what's the other one on the creek bank?
The Japanese knotweed.
They'll make good honey out of that too.
Nectar from it too. Of course, it was dried up this year too, so they just didn't make enough nectar.
They didn't have it
for them to harvest. But those are two invasives I used to try to eliminate, and now I put up with them. I wouldn't suggest anybody grow them just for bees because they will spread like crazy.
You take what you can get.
Yes.
Now, I want to circle back to your class. Now, who can join your class? Is there an age limit, certain skill level?
As long as you can sit and listen and understand it, and anybody can join. Yes.
So even the youngest little toddler, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, to the oldest 101-year-old?
Right.
Right. We've had several young
people. We have 2 sets of young people that come with their mothers, and they've come, I know the one family has come probably 4 years or longer, And this other family has come the last 2 years to classes. So
Yeah, that's
anybody.
a 4-H project of theirs, I think. that's
Yes,
raising the bees.
they started out as a 4-H project, and they've continued, and they just seem like they love it. So
And several of them have been stung and they get over it. So.
yes.
That's good to hear. Now, also too, we're kind of approaching the end here, so if you guys can give me a quick rundown on how these classes typically go. What do you guys go over?
Everything. They start about what kind of bees are in the hive, the queen bee, the worker bees, the drones or boy bees. He'll tell about life cycles. He'll tell how to set up a bee box. Actually, at the end of the class, we get to go to the apiaries that we have. We have one at New Roots, like Terry said, and we'll go out and actually put 2 packages of bees that we have purchased to put in the beehives, and they'll learn how to set those up and learn about how to make frames, how to just put a hive together, and how to treat for mites. There's all kinds of things you'll learn.
It sounds super exciting. Thank you guys again for coming out here today. You make me even interested in beekeeping. I'm previously scared of bees. So if you guys are interested in beekeeping or picking up a new hobby, of course you guys can call them at the 2 numbers that I provided on the screen. And hopefully you guys will see Patty and Terry soon. Thank you guys so much again for coming
Thank
here.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.